with my Vans on. They gon' let me rock cause I got morals I'm gon' stand on.
Our next topic is Ricochet. So your take on Ricochet. Zaccharie Risacher.
How you feel about Sarr is how I feel about Risacher. Or I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but I'm gonna just call him Zach. How you feel about Sarr is how I feel about Zach. I think long term he could be a really good NBA player, but I just think in watching him and the games that the stretches that he's been through over in France, I just don't see the flashes consistently enough to say, let's take this guy number one. Like it would be like, to me, it would be like taking Ziaire Williams number one. Like, to me, I'm just saying.
No, but I respect that. Just give me a breakdown of his game in your opinion.
I think he could be a really good shooter. He has like horrible stretches of shooting, and then he has really hot stretches.
Who would you compare shooting to that currently in the NBA?
Who would I compare his shooter? Who would I compare him to currently in the NBA? Hot and cold. Current day Klay Thompson. He's gonna catch it, and you're gonna go out to contest it. Mm-hmm. But there's just gonna be some nights where it's like, okay, we gotta run this guy off the 3-point line. But also similar to Klay Thompson, I think he has a handle, but it's a strength thing to me. I don't know if he's going to be able to navigate through NBA defenses with the strength that he needs to be extremely effective at the rim.
That's a big one, right?
I see a very raw finisher at the rim. I see somebody with a very wiry frame that could potentially be bullied and moved around a lot. Can he do the other stuff at a high level? Can he rebound? Can he pass? Can he be a ball mover? Can he play defense at a really high level in the NBA? We'll see. Like I said, it's just like with Sarr, there are a lot of question marks. There are a lot of flashes where I'm like, oh, I would take that guy number one. And there are some stretches where I'm like,
nah,
he might be Ziaire Williams.
That's a real question. Exactly. He reminds me of offense. And it's funny that you say Klay Thompson because I have Kevin Huerter.
That's a good one too.
Where you know what? He doesn't have to play making a Kevin Huerter, but like he that short movement game he got real streaky with that shot.
Yeah.
Not really gonna finish well at the basket because he just doesn't have the strength.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the ability to just take you off the dribble.
Yeah.
But he can attack closeouts.
You know what his projection reminds me of and what I'm scared of the most? I know he had a really good game the other day in the playoffs. He had 28, whatever
he
case
did.
may be. Really shot the ball well. But there's a very Killian Hayes feel about his prospects. And that's what I'm scared of. Yeah. Because you're worried about the functional athleticism is what you're saying. Exactly. And I convinced myself that Killian Hayes would be an NBA player.
I never bought into Killian Hayes. And it's the reason why is because I just could never buy into that athleticism.
But this guy is what, 6'8", 6'7"?
6'9", around 6'10".
Okay, so that's an advantage in itself. So I'm definitely taking a chance on him in the top 10, maybe even top 5, depending on how his workout and what he looks like in person.
He's definitely top 5 in this draft.
Yes, but am I taking him number one once again? No, it's just too many question marks.
Yeah, I completely agree with you though on the offense. I think defense is where I'm a little bit more sold on him. And because I'm way more sold on him offensively than I was on Sarr for right now, not for the future, but for right now, I'm just more of a buyer of him. Defensively, I liken him to Jaden Mcdaniels. He's not as wiry, not as good, not as quick with the hands, but he's really disciplined. You know how Jaden Mcdaniels is really disciplined as a defender. Ricochet's very disciplined. He doesn't seem like he's super long. I think Jaden Mcdaniels is not super long either, but they're really wiry and they really know how to use their feet well. And they really establish themselves as far as positional defenders. And I just think that his defense is functional. I think he can guard 2s and 3s. I don't believe he can guard big wings, like true big wings. And I don't believe he can guard point guards either. And it just takes time. I think Jaden McDaniels, it took him time to get to that point where he could guard those type of guys. I
Like
just
the
think
Brandon Ingrams of the world.
he won't struggle with those guys because they can get a little physical with him. Brandon Ingram,
Even Luka.
Luka cooks him. But but he gives me those vibes, and for that, I'm a buyer of him. But that being said, offensively, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of, like I said, look at all you got to do. Look at Kevin Herter over in Sacramento. Just a lot of
streakiness.
Just you got to shrug your shoulders to it. I combined this year's draft class and last year's draft class, and Zach Edey's my number 1 overall prospect in this year's draft class, and he was number 10 in the combination, meaning that 9 players in last year's draft class I had them rated higher than Zach Edey.
I can agree with that.
That's not good. That means we don't have this draft doesn't have a true number 1.
Yeah.
Like at all. Like not even close. Because I don't see Zach Edey as a top 10 pick in a top 9 pick. Yeah, but I don't see him as a top. I see him as a 10 pick maybe, but I don't see him as a top 9 pick in most drafts.
And that's the thing with the picks with Sarr and Risacher. If you're sold on Sarr or Risacher, take them. But if you bring in a Khalil Ware or a Cody Williams,
that's the problem. Side's so much different than them.
Exactly.
That's the problem in this draft. Somebody in the end of the first could have the same upside as the guy going number 1, number 2. It's just that we project this upside to be there because we see more flashes. But what about if those flashes are just sparks?
And
this other guy,
that we can talk about that with Edey.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
No, actually, we're at Edey. You are absolutely right. We are at Edey. We are at my number 1 overall prospect in this year's draft, Zach Edey. I've been facing heat for it, but I tell everybody there's no top 10 pick in this year's draft.
Yeah,
true top 10
I agree.
Pick.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and I think going back to the combine conversation, I undersold it. This guy definitely, to me, was the winner at the combine. I think by a mile because he went in there and he completely outdid every expectation of the scouts. The guy that people keep sliding in front of him and clinging, he dominated him in every aspect, even the shooting, which is surprising. I think the way he performs in high-pressure situations in tandem with the film, in tandem with the natural gifts that he has, that he steps into the NBA day one, and he's one of the top-tier athletes in terms of stature and athleticism combined. Just because he's 7'5" and has shown that he has the potential to move and do the things that a lot of bigs in the league are already doing. Mm-hmm. On top of what he did in college, the projection of what that means, being in conversations with David Robinson's production, being in conversations with
Raymond Tisdale,
Samson, Raymond Tisdale, and the NCAA tournament, being one of the best performers of all time in the NCAA tournament. Yes, he's 20-10. 6 times he did it in the NCAA tournament. Woo! So it's getting to the point now where we have to start looking around and saying,
what is everybody not seeing?
What's happening? Yeah. What is happening?
Someone said Zach Edey was a big winner. He went up from 30 to 28th on their big board.
I'm starting to think there's some organization out there, maybe a few, that really want him and really want to snatch him from under everybody's nose. So they're putting out these mocks and placing them a certain place. Mm-hmm. But then there's 2 platforms that I follow a lot that do coverage all year round. There's Draft Express and there's No Ceilings. And they've both had them in the lottery for about 3 months now.
Agree. Because I just want to cover something. We're not going to talk about Killian today. But do you realize that Killian performed so well at the combine that he had a B-spark of 94.50? He is an exceptional athlete. And he looks it on tape for his size. Exceptional athlete. Zach Edey is an exceptional athlete. And I get it. I completely get the hate. The hate is all about his fluidity. It's about his gait. It's about the fact that he feels he has slow reaction when he puts the ball down. It's like, why is it when he puts the ball down, he looks like he's Humpty Dumpty, but when he puts his arm up, he's like quick. And it looks so weird. And I keep telling people, because you're gonna do the Michael Jordan LeBron thing, whereas I don't like the way LeBron looks when he plays basketball. Whereas when Michael Jordan plays basketball, it's smooth. It's like a dub. It's the king fluidity, Mr. Fluidity himself. And then you got LeBron, who's like a 50. And then Zach Edey, Edey is one of them big trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people have revisionist history too, right? Because think about what 7'5" looks like.
Mhm.
People didn't really like Manute Bol when he was a thing. They didn't like the way he looked. It wasn't aesthetically pleasing, but now we rave about him because of the career he had. Same thing with Yao Ming. People did not like how Yao Ming looked when he played basketball.
No, actually,
If we go back,
people liked it's just the speed. He was slow.
exactly, and the fact that he was finesse.
Yeah.
The only difference is he's more of a bruiser, and that's an art in this game that just doesn't really exist that much anymore.
Edey is the most underrated prospect and the most mislabeled prospect that I've seen since Lamar Jackson. Because if you look at my scouting report, it doesn't look like other people's scouting report. I strongly believe it's accurate. I'm gonna share it with you. Here, I'm gonna share it with you. Put the link in, and I'm just gonna share you my scouting report in here. All right, and tell me what you think. Stop me when you feel like, nah, that's just not accurate. I'm going to go as fast as I could. I'm not going to show you the long one. I think the long one just take too long. So this is my thread, right? This is my thread. I created. I'm going to share it with you. And of course, the title is Zach Edey the next great Atlantic Hawk, or is he the next Cam Reddish? Is he somebody that's just, would he be a disappointment if we took him? Zach Edey, this is my simple scouting report with him, just like something real quick for anybody to pick up. A big player who excels in movement rim finishing with a hint of post-up quality. His future is the same thing, but with some catch and shoot potential. My current analysis of him, he's an elite garbage man with freakish athleticism for his size, superior mental attributes, and exceptional physical measurements. However, his fluidity limits his offensive potential when he has ball possession. He has superior movement skills and executes high-level roles. Elite screener. His post play is limited unless he secures significant positioning in the low post. And of course, the future is similar, but just offer catch and shoot abilities. I didn't have any direct NBA comparisons for him. I did have a weakness comparison, and that was Edey Tavares. Both Edey and Edey displayed poor fluidity. So that's the only person I can go off of in terms of that's similar to Edey, is Edey had that poor fluidity. Edey is way better than Edey in every other way. But that's just the similarity they had, and he's the only person that has that similarities with Edey, is Edey Tavares, who the Hawks drafted years back. My offensive comparison favorable. And now tell me if I'm wrong about this. I said Karl Malone. Add the differences, meaning the shooting. Obviously, Karl's really fast. Edey's fast for his size, but Karl's really fast for any big. Neither player was anticipated to produce offensively at an exceptionally high level. Both players possess tremendous strength, superior movement, and relentless energy. Neither had a particularly strong post game, with most of their work done before receiving the ball. Malone is more fluid and uses agility a lot more, but Edey is much larger and uses brute force for positioning and his mental acuity for his success as a low post scorer. Both are elite screeners and have a terrific feel for rolling off the pick and roll. Both qualify as spammers into how they score. Doesn't seem like they're really good, but the production is there. This is not by mistake. This is what being relentless and having a high motor looks like, and their passion is scoring.
I think that's very accurate, and I just don't see how other people aren't watching these games and thinking the same thing. It makes me question how some people see the game and how some people are evaluating these prospects. Are you going in trying to put them in a certain box? Mm-hmm. And that's what I think it is.
Are you trying to make them a prototype?
Exactly. So are you going in saying, in order for a player to be an elite NBA player, they have to be able to shoot. They have to be able to switch 1 through 4.
Dribble, pass, and shoot.
Yeah, they have to be able to do all of. And then it's just like you look around the NBA, and not every player can do those things. So you have to go in and basically evaluate players based on their strengths and how those strengths project, and their weaknesses and how those weaknesses project. And I just don't think his weaknesses are as much of a non-conversation starter as people make it. Like, even if he wasn't as mobile in the pick and roll or whatever the case may be, Jokic is not. There's a lot of players who are not.
Who you know how Jokic got drafted by Denver? Because in practice at the Hoop Summit, because no one really was going to draft him, but at the Hoops, he ended up getting a last minute invite to the Hoop Summit. He dominated Clint Capella in pick and roll play with Moutier all scrimmage. Now he struggled in the main game. Jahlil Okafor dominated him, but he destroyed Clint Capella. That's what made That's what made the different drafting. They also drafted guess who? Moutier a year later.
Exactly.
Which didn't work out. But that being said, I think there's a lot. I've argued with somebody. I said he's an exceptional pick and roll player, and they argue with me saying he's not a good pick and roll player because he doesn't finish above the rim with it. He might dunk, but it's not like he's catching alleys. He's not like Clint Capella, where he's like a vertical lob threat. And no, he was a vertical lob threat his sophomore year when he was playing with Jaden Ivey.
Yeah. I've
gotten so many arguments with him from Zach Edey, and the biggest argument I get is he looks like Boban. And it drives me crazy because Boban plays nothing like him. Boban is a low post. And that's the thing. If you look at his scouting report, it almost looks like Boban. He's a good post player. But he's not a great post. He's a good post player. Boban is not a good post player. He's a great post player. Boban is a great post player. He has terrific hands in the post. Edey does not have terrific hands in the post. Edey has terrific hands on adjustment and catching on the move. Edey is essentially a great movement handler, which means what's that vision I call in baseball? Where you can catch the ball and you have really good he has great spatial awareness.
Yeah. But
when Edey's in the post and he has to control the ball, his fluidity hurts him. Because anytime he puts the ball on the deck, and I show somebody what poor fluidity and great fluidity looks like. Watch Shaq at LSU and put it next to Zach Edey and against Ohio State. And Edey puts the ball down. A little bit more space than even Shaq did. With a little bit more space, from the from the off-ball perimeter defender.
Yeah,
and the off-ball perimeter defender got to the ball so quick with Zach Edey. When Shaq did it, Shaq wasn't there that move, dunk. It was like you couldn't even give even if you were there on time, the fact that Shaq got the ball, you were too late.
Yeah.
And that's what elite fluidity looks like. I think some people think he's a clown. They see him in the post and they say, man, that's some weak stuff. Get that nonsense out of here. You know who else used to do that? Karl Malone.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go to the short video I sent, the short description of scouting I sent, I show a couple of videos of Karl Malone fighting for getting the post position and then getting the foul instantly. And it looked like Zach Edey.
And the people don't understand that like the space is completely different in the NBA.
He's great already. He's already better than everybody at it.
Exactly. And he's already, before you even get into the league, you watch his interviews, he's already talking about ceiling. He's already talking about playing out of the short roll. Like, the kid is smart. Like,
exceptionally. I mentioned mental acuity so many times with him. And guess what? His defense is not that bad. I keep telling people his defense, he makes good decisions. Now, right now, he's not going to come into the NBA killing it on defense. But if you give him 4 years, he's going to be looking like Marc Gasol out there. He's just going to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to beat you to the spot. I'm just going to beat you to angles.
And I just see that happening because he's such a student of the game. He knows about players that he probably shouldn't know about. Like, he knows about the Hakeems. Like, he shouldn't know about those guys.
Yeah.
But he does. So that lets me know he's a student of the game.
Yeah.
And when you get him around these NBA staffs, he seems like a guy that really wants to be great. So I just don't see him failing. Like,
I see him as a six-man day one. I see him as a successful six-man day one. If he's playing with Atlanta, I see him as a successful starter day one. I see him as a...
You look at Lively. Like, you look at Lively with the Mavs. If he went anywhere else, I'm not sure he would.
Atlanta. He could have went to Atlanta. And if he go to Atlanta, he's having the same success.
Exactly. Because
the way
of the
guard, like Luka, Trey. Yeah.
And that's why I feel like it's a good fit for those type of guys. They can be day one starters because of what's surrounding. Same thing with the next guy. Same thing with the next guy that we were talking about with Knecht.
Oh, man. This is going to be a good one, guys. And unfortunately, we only have 6 minutes on this for the rest of this section. So we will be going to part 3, but part 3 will only be 15 minutes today. So we're going to go into Dalton Knecht is on my list. I think he's my player number 3. He's my 3rd highest player on the big board. And I'm high on Dalton Knecht. I compare him to Dan Marley. To be frankly honest with you, I think he's really the best player in this draft, day one. Edey, I'm more impressed with Edey's. I think Edey has a higher upside. I just believe that when Edey figures it out, or if he goes to the perfect situation, he's gonna be greater than them because of the role, not because of him, but because of the role.
Yeah.
Whereas Knecht, I don't see the role changing anywhere he goes. But man, look,
he's that prototype we were talking about.
Three-level scorer.
Yes.
Can
Dribble pass, shoot.
Strong. Can handle contact. Can finish with contact.
Effort.
Yes.
Long wingspan.
Low wingspan. Sam wingspan is Klay Thompson.
Good size.
Good size. He's a fighting defender too. You saw Purdue couldn't exploit him. I like this kid. I get it. 23 years old. That's gonna be the knock on him. But is he not the best? Is he not one of the best players in this draft? Is he not one of the best players in this draft?
No, I'm gonna sound a little biased because I'm a Tennessee Vols fan. He's number 5 on my board, I believe. I'm very high on Ron Holland, Alex Sarr, Edey, and then I think the other guy I had, he might be 4 on my board. I think he's 4 on my board.
So he's high on your board.
Yes, but I did say that a lot of his game is gonna be based on how well he shoots it.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna shoot it well. I think he's really gonna shoot it well. He's my Jaime Jaquez Jr. of this draft.
That's a good one, but better.
Exactly. And I think he's better because he's just stronger. He's probably going to be, to me, probably a better passer. He's probably going to be a better finisher. Just based off pure...
He reminds me of Dan Marley, bro. Do you remember Dan Marley?
Like, yoked up.
Strong like Dan, yeah. And can finish at the rim, could dunk on you. Would literally dunk on you. Dan Marley could dunk on you. Yeah. Now, the defense is, I think, he's going to be seen as a bad defender in today's NBA. But I think he's going to put up some stocks. I think he's going to get some blocks. I think he's going to get some steals.
Grayson Allen, he's much bigger.
I can see that. I just think that Grayson put so much effort into defense. But Grayson wasn't like that coming out of Duke. He became that as he had to figure out he had to have a role to survive in the NBA. But man, this kid, I love this kid. I love Dalton Knecht.
I love, and that's the thing. Like, he's one of those players where there's not a lot of weaknesses.
Not a lot.
There would be a lot of weaknesses if you were expecting him to come in and all handle in the pick and roll and be that guy. But that's not who he's going to be.
Yeah, like if you're drafting number 1 overall, he's going to have weaknesses. Exactly. If you're trying to say, hey, you need to be a number 1 option, he's not a number 1 option in the NBA team. He's going to be a number 3 at best. And
that's why he's so high to us, because we know coming in what he's going to be, and based on what he's going to be, there's not a lot of weaknesses there.
When we go into our next topic, which is the teams, the Grizzlies and the Hawks. The Grizzlies being a contender is, what's his name? Luke Kennard?
Yes.
And on top of that, you could trade Ziaire Williams and Kosher and package them and try to get a center like Robert Williams to fix your rebounding and to fix your toughness issues, and let JJ do what he does best, which is play the space and protect the rim. Let him do what he do best. Don't have him play the center. Don't have him guard centers and stuff like that. That's not what he do best. Let him do what he do best.
I can't wait to get into this.
We're messing it up for everybody. But man, I see the Knecht, because that's why I brought Knecht up, because he was the guy that I was like,
he would be good. Yeah.
Got him?
Because I'm going to be, so one thing on that, 2 of our biggest issues, I think, with roster construction right now is the fact that Gigi and Vince figured it out last year. So you need somebody that will be okay with potentially not playing a lot of minutes. And
being a shooter.
Yes, exactly. And being a shooter that you don't put on the court and you say, damn, he's going to hurt us. Like, you need a shooter that you put on the court and you're like, he's the Jake LaRavia 2.0 to me. And like and that would be perfect on this team, and that will open up everything for us.
I love Knecht. I hope he wears it before, so he could be Knecht 4 in the NBA.
Will be fired. And this is the first prospect that we kind of are all in on together. So let's just let it be that. Like, we love Knecht.
We love Knecht. We love him.